Welcome to today's press conference. We'll begin with an opening statement from Coach Shaw, and then we'll go into questions.
Good afternoon. Couple things before we get started. The injury update. EJ Smith will be out for the rest of the year. It's injury related. Not going to go into any detail. I know it's really disappointing for him. Disappointing for the whole team. I think he's a special young man and special football player, and was just really coming into his own. Future's bright. This is something that needs to be taken care of now, and I still expect him to be the special football player that we envision, that he envisions. Sooner or later, it's just not going to happen this year. Walter Rouse, Miles Hinton, Jay Simmons, right now would all be questionable. We'll see where they are. Neither participated last night. We'll see where they are in the next couple of days as we get back on the field with their pads on, and we'll have an announcement later in the week as to the health and availability of those three. As for the game, Washington has earned their ranking. They're really good. They play fast. They play physical. Did make a lot of mistakes. Gave us a couple opportunities, and we did not take advantage. We gave them opportunities, and they did. It's a tough environment. The noise was not a factor, like I said. I think our preparation for that was great. Our guys executed well in the noise. That we had some individual breakdowns, a couple calls I'd love to have back. Tough team to play without your starting running back and your two starting tackles for a good chunk of the game. Guys stepped up and battled. I think we were overmatched in a couple of situations. I think our lack of technique at times, led to some difficult plays. I thought Casey Filkins stepped in, performed admirably, rushed for 100 yards, made some really nice cuts, made some nice pass protection, had some pass protection opportunities, did well in most of them, not as well in some, just a young player that can grow and has a lot to learn. The turnover in the red zone, our third for the season, this is inexcusable. Just can't have it. I thought showed some bright spots. I thought our quarterback played well. We got to keep him clean. That's on everybody. It's on us as play callers. It's on the offensive line and tight ends and backs. Make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's on the quarterback as well. We all got to work together because, as evidence, in our third game, when he's clean and has an opportunity to throw the ball, can make every throw. Downfield throws were amazing, right on target. The far sideline throw, from the hash to the far sideline, can't throw it any better. He's capable of outstanding plays. He's got a great cast to work with, in particular in the passing game. But we gotta keep him clean, and it's on all of us involved to make sure that happens. Defensively, we battled. I think second game in a row we battled, and we're given some really poor circumstances. Tough to play against a great quarterback 2 weeks in a row with a lot of great weapons, and then be put in difficult situations by your offense. So I thought we gave ourselves a chance. That team is going to move the ball on everybody. Stopped him a couple times, made him kick some field goals, which is huge for that group. If we would have handled our business on the offensive side, might have been more interesting as we got towards the end, and might have given ourselves a chance to win. I've been told I was a little bit more animated on the sidelines this game than typical, and a lot of reasons for that. A lot of discussions with the officials. I won't get into very many details about that, but I thought there were some very difficult calls. Not why we lost the game, not at all. We got beaten by a really good football team. But there's some things that I think that I disagreed with at the time, and I disagree with even more after watching the film. One in particular, 5 minutes left to go in the second quarter. This is something that, once again, being the head of the rules committee for years now, that is very inconsistent across college football. 5 minutes go in the second quarter, a quarterback breaks contain and is in the throwing process and gets hit, at the knee. That's a foul. It's not just this game. I've seen it on multiple games throughout college football. So I'm using this opportunity in this forum right now, as the outgoing head of the rules committee, that this is something that, I've talked to Steve Shaw, national coordinator of officials, talked to David Coleman, Pac-12 head of officials, something that has to be taken care of across all of college football. It's a health and safety issue with the defenseless quarterback. In the NFL, it's a hefty fine in the pocket or out of the pocket. It's a big fine. And in college football, too often it's missed. We're looking at the quarterback as a runner, but he's still a quarterback and still needs to be protected. So not calling anybody a dirty player, would never point the finger at the University of Washington. I have tremendous respect for their head coach and have for years, and the way that they coach. Those guys play hard, they play physical, they play to win. That play should have been a foul. So that's just one of those things that across college football, just in watching games, we've had so many night games recently, watching games during the day, that's one of those things that I think needs to be addressed nationally. And with Steve Shaw and other people that we've communicated with, that's one thing that we really need to emphasize. On to Oregon, another top 15 opponent on the road, loud, difficult place to play. We play up to our ability. We'll have an opportunity to win. This is another team. You can't give them chances. You can't turn the ball over against these guys. Last 3 games, they scored 41 points or more. And, our defense is in for a battle. But offensively, we got to live up to our abilities as well. So that's one of those things. And, I just, throwing this out there, and, I think our kickoff time is 8:00, and would love to live in a world where, we cap start times at 7:00. I mean, they can cap them at 7:00 in the on the weekends, and cap it at 6:00. If you're playing on a Thursday night, it's just really difficult coming back for college students at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning to have an opportunity to, get some rest and then get some schoolwork done. I know it sounds typical coming from the Stanford head coach, but I think that's the way it should be. These are student athletes. They have other responsibilities, and for the road team on these 8:00 start times, I think it's unfair. I think we can play into the windows for TV, starting no later than 7. But that's just my opinion and throwing it out there. And I'll now take questions.
Thank you, Coach Shaw. Please raise your hand with the raise hand function. We'll start with Troy.
Hey, Coach, 2 position units that before the season you had said and felt good about the depth and the talent in both of those rooms. And now that depth is really being tested at this point with the offensive line and the running backs as well. How would you sum up the depth and the talent in both of those for both those units right now?
Well, the good thing is that because of our depth, we can still line up with college football players. Barrett started a lot of games for us. He's been huge for us. He can play guard or tackle. Mostly been repping at guard this whole off season. I think that's where he's at his best, but he's played a lot of games at tackle for us as well. Mclaughlin played well at times. He's got all the ability. He's going to be a very good football player. He's just a young and experienced player right now. So if he's thrust into playing time, I think he can. I think Levi Rogers has come in and played really well, starting at right guard for us. So sophomore who's still learning and growing, and we think he's going to be an outstanding football player time to come. So thankfully, because of our depth, we're still able to line up with Division I football players and go out and compete. But to lose a Branson Bragg, who, was an NFL draft pick, and then play without our two starting tackles, who we all believe are going to be longtime NFL players as well. It's a big difference. So once again, thankfully we have the depth to put guys out there to go out there and play. We'll see how Walter and Miles are by the end of the week. If they're not ready, we'll put our guys out there, trust them, believe in them, give them the opportunity to be successful. But thankfully we have the depth to actually put some guys out there that we believe are good football players and are going to be good football players.
Thank you, Troy. Kyle?
Yeah, this is a little off topic and is going to test your memory a little bit, but what do you remember of the 1996 NIAA championship game? I obviously asking because Kalen DeBoer was a receiver in that game. I'm just curious what holds up.
Gosh, it was a little while ago. I didn't know that until Coach DeBoer told me pregame. I was blown away. I had no idea he was a player on that team. My old boss, Rob Smith, from Western Washington, head coach at the time, my first head coach I worked for, was at the game as well. Got a chance to reminisce with him as well. We talked about that game. We talked about the 2 years we spent in Bellingham. It's a beautiful place and a great environment that I wish still had football, but they dropped football years ago. So yeah, I remember the game. I remember it well. If I thought about it, I would have kicked Coach DeBoer in the shins, for getting after us in that national championship game as well. But it was a great environment, a great fun team to coach at that time, to really start my career in the great Pacific Northwest, with some great kids, a great head coach, and an opportunity my second year as a coach to play in a national championship game was a great memory.
And you spoke to kind of how impressed you were with Washington, but have you got to know Kalen at all? And can he sort of kind of takeaways from what you've seen from him, either this year or what you've been aware of previously? And I told him this beforehand, we don't know each other very well. There's a lot of mutual respect. I've been hearing his name for years, and about the things that are important, integrity, his approach to the game, as a teacher and mentor of young people. Those things that I really care about. And on top of that, he's a really good football coach. So they've done a great job there. They're able to come in and bring in a couple of transfers, particularly at quarterback, which, honestly is the biggest difference, the biggest change in on the team. They do a great job with scheme. The guy's special. And, the offense is really moving because of him. Thanks.
Thank you, Kyle. Steve?
Yeah, Coach, first question on EJ Smith. Will he need surgery?
I'm not going to cross that line. But there's a medical situation that, it's unwise for him. And I don't think there's even an option for him to continue. So, so he's got to get his body taken care of. Trust me, he wished it was not this way. He was gearing up. He told me last week, Coach, I can't wait to play against Oregon. I'm going to be there for you. And I need to get back in there. But the doctors are right. And it's wise for him, both now and for his future, to get this taken care of and come back in 23, bigger, faster, stronger.
And how much does his absence change your playbook?
It doesn't change the playbook. It just gives other guys more opportunities. Casey Filkins came in, had 100 yards on 20 carries, caught the ball well out of the backfield, did a good job of pass protection. We put a couple of the backs in there. But I think for the longevity of the season, we're going to have to play minimum 3 backs just to keep everybody healthy. But Casey's going to be the lead dog there. He's earned that. He deserves that. There are a lot of things that I know he's going to improve on over the next coming weeks, let alone by the end of the year. But he's an outstanding talent. He cares a lot about doing it right.
He'll continue to return some punts for us as well, and he's in the depth at kickoff return. That's kind of athlete that he is. He's an all-around great football player. But we got a room full of guys that, as was mentioned earlier, we feel comfortable with. Our running back room, it's a blow without EJ, but we've got some talented guys in there that you'll see over the next few weeks.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. John?
Coach, I was struck for Football Focus. I think had Tanner as the highest rated quarterback in a clean pocket, and you mentioned just a moment ago some of the responsibility when the pocket breaks down or there's difficulty in there is on the quarterback. Educate us. What is Tanner's responsibility in those scenarios?
Without getting into specifics, but there's an old edict that I believe in, and part of protecting the quarterback, the responsibility of protecting the quarterback is on the quarterback. That's sometimes you got to throw the ball at people in your face. Sometimes you got to get it out quick. Sometimes you got to, discretion is the better part of valor. Protect the ball, protect your head, and get down. Sometimes with opportunity to scramble. So those are all things that Tanner has shown the ability to do. The keeping the pocket clean is a lot of responsibility on the offensive line. Our tight ends have been in and out of pass protection throughout the year, and sometimes we've been great, sometimes we haven't been. Our running backs in the same way. So playing against another really great front, it's on all of us. What we call, when we call it, what our quarterback does, what he doesn't do, what our O-line does, and tight ends do, as well as our running backs. So it's protecting quarterbacks, a group project. But you said it, when he's clean in the pocket, he's special. He's special. I mean, I said it after the game. Believe it even more now after watching on film. There's 5 big-time NFL throws on that film. I mean, amazing throws. Throws that guys on Sundays make. And when we keep him clean and give him an opportunity to get it out, he's as good as anybody in college football, among the best.
Thank you. Ben?
Just want to get your thoughts on Benjamin Urosic. Obviously, you guys aren't getting as much out of him as you would like to, it seems like, from a statistical standpoint. Just what do you guys need to do to get him rolling more? Because if you guys can't, that's going to give your offense another dimension.
Yeah, it's the good and bad of what we talked about through or before the season ever started. We got multiple weapons. We don't have just one guy we're trying to feed the ball to. So as the game goes, quarterback's got to go through his reads and see where the opportunities are. For last couple teams, it seems like periodically there's a little bit more single coverage outside. So we've been able to go back outside. First game of the year, John Humphreys was our leading yardage gainer, and I think maybe Elijah was second week. And then, game 3, it's Michael, and I think that's the way it's going to be. Bryson Tremaine has not had a big impact in these games, and we know he's more than capable. Ben Urosic hasn't had a big impact. We know he's more than capable. Some has to do with the protection, some has to do with the play calling, some has to do with the defenses that are played. But we're going to keep trying to put Ben in position to make plays. If the coverage dictates the quarterback goes someplace, he has to go someplace else. I think this is going to be an ongoing story for us. It's you look at it, it's better when you're winning, difficult when you're losing. But the positives are we've got multiple guys, and Mike has a career day, and next week Ben might have a career day. Elijah may have a career day. So the good thing for us is we don't have to force it to anybody. The guys need to support each other as they have been doing. They need to celebrate each other when the other guy makes a play, knowing that if that guy attracts more attention, then I'll have an opportunity coming up. So Ben hasn't had a breakout game yet. Thought he did well against USC. But a lot of football you have to play. I had to remind the guys yesterday with how difficult the last 2 weeks have been. We just finished game 3. We're 1 quarter way into the season. There's a lot of football left to be played, and our best football is still in front of us. We have not seen it yet. We haven't shown it yet. And that's our desire. That's our charge, is to get the most out of this football team and play our best. And week to week, we may have a different leading receiver, but that's one of our strengths, is that we do have depth at our pass receiving positions.
Thank you. Troy?
Yeah, Coach, what's your assessment on how the defensive line, both the linemen and the edge groups have fared so far this year and what you need to see from them going forward?
I would say they've been solid. Um, I wouldn't say exceptional. I wouldn't say terrible. I think we've been solid. I think we've played against, I don't know, two of the better offenses in America. We need to get more pressure on the quarterback. As shown in the second half of the USC game. When we do, we're a better defense, whether that's by scheme or by personnel. Guys need to win their one-on-one battles. We've mixed up our front a little bit. We had a little bit more movement, done some, nickel variances on our fronts, which I think have helped as well. So I think we're also at that point too, where we have just enough young players that we're really finding out what they do well, and really seeing them grow. That David Bailey had a couple of big time pass rushes this game. One was debatable on whether or not it was a holding call, but really is really coming along. Aaron Armitage, you're starting to see him play more. He's got a lot more to give. We believe he's got a high ceiling. But Anista Cosmo has played well. Stephen Herron's probably been our most productive edge player. So there's things that are happening that we're just watching and pushing our guys. I'm going to find the best combination of guys to play the majority of football, but at the same time, we got to rotate our guys. And thankfully, we have enough depth, knock on wood, right now to rotate those guys and keep them fresh. But we do need to put more pressure on the quarterback. We can be better than we have been against the run. There are spots where we've had some 3-and-outs. We've stopped them. But I think we put the defense in too many difficult situations, too many opportunities for offenses, big time offenses in particular the last 2 weeks. If you give those teams too many opportunities, they're going to get yards and points. So part of playing great defense is playing great offense, keeping the ball away and scoring points. And part of great defenses is also getting off the field. I thought we've been good on third downs. We've given up too many explosive plays. We need to get more pressure on the quarterback, and I think we can play better. But I think we've been solid on the defensive side. Offense has to help us, but we can also play better.
John?
Coach, Casey Filkins, first time playing at the big in-state school for him, Portland area kid, in a feature role for you. I think we're starting to see some of his special attributes as a runner, just speaking to his, with the ball traits. So what can you describe some of the special things you've seen in him as a ball carrier, and maybe what you saw when you were recruiting him that made you decide to pull the trigger on Casey?
Yeah, Casey's just got so many abilities. He's got the ability to be fast, quick, and explosive. He's got vision. He's got balance to change direction and make people miss. For a guy who's not the biggest guy, he gets yards after contact. He's really good slithering between people and taking glancing blows and getting positive yards after contact. Catches the ball well out of the backfield, can line up outside as a receiver as well and make plays. So it was great to see him do all of that, as well as be a return man for us. Like I said, we're going to rotate the backs through, but this is a talented young man that I think is only going to get better. He's just getting started now, especially knowing that he's going to be the lead ball carrier for the remainder of the season. That puts a lot more on his shoulders. I know he's more than capable. I do honestly believe that 3 and 4 games from now, he's going to be better than he is right now. He's a young back. Every once in a while, he gets a little excited, gets a little impatient. I think as he settles in and gets more and more comfortable and gets more patient and trusts what he sees in front of him, that was a 100-yard game that honestly could have been 120, 130, with some more pass receiving yards as well. So he's a young man. He cares a lot. He wants to be great. He wants to do it right. And he's going to gain experience over these next few weeks. And he's going to be an exciting player to watch.
Steve?
Yeah, Coach, what distinguishes Bo Nix?
It's the combination of traits, size, athleticism, arm strength. He's always been known as a gamer. The guy can make big time throws in big time games. He can make big time runs in big time games. He can break tackles. He can run away from you. He can buy time and throw the ball down the field. I think especially these last 3 games, you've seen all that. And, he's a challenge. Anytime you have a talented team, but then you have an athletic quarterback on top of that talented team, it makes you that much more dangerous.
Thank you.
James?
David, kind of following with that, whatever offseason scouting you would have had with Nix, there were some situational splits that he performed pretty poorly in, particularly third down, particularly fourth quarter, and if it was on the road. Well, this is a home game for them, but those third down and fourth quarter splits now for him, it's a complete 180 compared to his Auburn career. What have you noticed beyond the traits you just listed of how he's performed in those pressure situations for them this season and how they've gotten that out of him when for 3 years Auburn could not?
Well, I don't want to, jump into that fire pit you just laid in front of me. I'll say this. I think sometimes we forget that these are college athletes, that they grow every year, they learn every year, they improve every year. And a lot of their best football happens later in their careers, 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year. So a lot of times when you see a player really come into his own, a lot of it's just maturity. A lot of it's just experience. And I remind our guys, coaches and players all the time, part of experience is screwing it up. Part of experience is making a mistake and growing from it and learning from it. So I don't want to, point fingers at anybody's coaching. I think the young man has made a lot of plays in his career. And he's a good football player, and he's really playing well right now.
Thank you. Ben?
I was going to say, I was looking at PFF grades yesterday. It looked like tackling across the board did improve from USC to Oregon. Was that something you guys kind of emphasized over the bye week? And how do you feel that particular aspect of the defense is coming together?
Yeah, I think it's going well. We still missed a couple opportunities, but not the blatant ones we had, against USC. And part of the ones against USC are who they were. Travis Dye is a hard guy to tackle. He always has been. Those 2 receivers there, both transfers, are tough guys to get on the ground. But it's something we've emphasized. Part of tackling is desire, and our guys have that desire. The other part of tackling is technique, and we've worked on that technique. So, hopefully that continues to improve. It has been a nice positive for us, but we're going to keep working on it, knowing that's the vital part of defense is having your eyes where it's supposed to be and tackling the guy with the ball.
Thank you. John?
Coach, talk about a little bit about the play of Kendall Williamson, your leading tackler against Washington, one of your elder statesmen. I use that term in a complimentary fashion, and bang bang play on a receiver that I thought was excellent. Talk about Kendall a little bit.
Kendall's playing the best football of his career. He's been a multi-year starter for us. He's made plays in the past. His speed and athleticism and physical nature have been out there on display for years. I think he is the most comfortable right now that he's ever been. His experience has really paid off. I think the offseason that he put together this year, he came into camp in the best shape of his life, and really has a great understanding of where he fits on everything. And he's been great in coverage. He's been great in the running game. And I'm really excited for him because he's really coming to his own, and I think he's one of the best ones in our conference, if not the best safety in our conference right now.
Thank you, John. We're going to take 2 more. Troy and James will wrap it up.
Coach, when you look at the turnovers, how many of them do you deem as something that can be correctable? And how many of them do you deem as just something that's just a bounce of the ball, like perhaps the one that Filkins had that turned into the interception on Saturday up at UW?
Well, I'm a football coach, so I think they're all correctable. I think you can play turnover-free football. Part of it is protecting the quarterback in the pocket, both him being where he's supposed to be and keeping him clean around the pocket. Another part is, hey, got to run the routes the right way. And Casey was kind of stumbling coming out of that cut. And you got to make that play. You got to catch it. You're going down or not, got to catch it. Can't serve it up for the defense. Balls deflect off fingers all the time, and we either got to knock it down if we're on offense. We got to take it when we're on defense. So, as you said, the ball hasn't bounced our way necessarily, but that's also a lot to do with us. And sometimes you gotta be in the right place, doing the right things to keep the ball from being turned over, and then also to create turnovers.
David, what is it about this series that it seems like a lot of unusual things or unusual endings seem to occur, or events seem to occur in this series in particular, even going back to 2012 and a late touchdown for you guys and winning in overtime, and 2018, the fumble, 2020, a messed up COVID test, last season, late penalties and things like that obviously helped things for you guys on that end. What is it about this series that seems to bring out some just unusual circumstances, and how much does last year's game, we're asking folks on this end how that plays into their perspective, how much does the ending of last year's game particularly stick with you guys and the history of the series?
Yeah, there've been a lot of crazy games, crazy endings. But it's about two really good football teams, playing over a period of time and being pretty equally balanced and fighting all the way to the end. And as we know, turnovers make an influence on the outcome of the game, as do big plays. And more often than not, we've been on the positive side of those against Oregon. It's up to us to force that trend to continue. But last year, was last year. They got different staff, got different personnel playing. This is going to be an exciting game. It's going to be a late night game in the Northwest with two teams that are thirsty for a victory.
Thank you so much, all. Next up, we'll have fifth-year wide receiver Michael Wilson. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Hey, Maddie, you're muted.
Sorry about that. We'll now take questions for Michael Wilson. Troy?
Michael, your initial assessment of the Oregon defense, and especially the secondary, and they might be down a player. They will be down a player for the first half, DJ Johnson. But your initial thoughts on the Duck secondary and the defense, and some things they might try to throw at you on this weekend.
Yeah, once again, I think this is going to be a pretty common theme throughout the rest of the season. Is every single defense we play is going to be fast, physical, have great athletes, play with great effort. Oregon fits all those categories. As far as the secondary, I think this is probably the longest secondary we'll face in terms of length, right? One of their corners is 6'2", about 201 pounds. So and really, really long arms. The other cat on the other side is 6'3", 195 pounds. So, and he looks like he's got the longest pair of arms I've ever seen on a DB. Safeties are all 6 feet, 6'1", 6'2". So it's going to be a challenge for us because I guess we wouldn't have our typical size advantage we have against a typical DB core that we'd face. So we're going to have to be really good with our technique, going to have to win one-on-one matchups, and I'm pretty sure most balls are going to be contested. And so we've got to just use our tenacious ability to go get the ball and just jump over guys and just come down and make tough catches.
Kevin?
Michael, you've been a part of a lot of intriguing games against Oregon over the course of your career. I mean, what does kind of Oregon week mean to you, considering kind of the battles that you've had against the Ducks since you've gotten to the farm?
Yeah, I think since I've been here, I beat them. Well, we won in 2018 in the crazy win. 2019 we lost. It was a close game. Our defense played really well. I just offensively we couldn't get it going. 2020, same thing. It was just back and forth, but I think we had 4 missed field goals in that game. Davis Mills got COVID the day before, or the day of, so he was out. And then we had Jack West as starting quarterback, but our offense still played pretty well. But ultimately, we couldn't get the job done. And then in 2020 or 2021, last year, I wasn't a part of the game, but watching from the sideline, I mean, did really, really well that game offensively. And then this year, so I'm 2-2 in my career against Oregon. 2 crazy wins against them, and then 2 pretty upsetting losses. So definitely have confidence going into this game. I feel like we always play Oregon tight, no matter who's up, who's down, whether we're a better team going in or they're a higher ranked team going in. It's always going to be a tough matchup, and both teams got to scrap to win the game. So I'm excited going in. Like I said, it's going to be a fun matchup because I know definitely the 2 DBs we're going to go against, the whole DB core. They all have NFL potential. So it's going to be a great matchup for us. Their linebacker core is elite. Front 7 or their front 4 is really good. So I'm excited. It's going to be a really, really good test for us. I wouldn't want it any other way. So.
Dave?
Yeah. Hey, Michael. Hey, just on the ability of you guys when you can get the ball downfield. I know Tanner was faced a lot of pressure in the last game, but obviously when you can get the ball to the receivers and get some air under the ball, how good can you guys be if you get those opportunities?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, and that's constantly what we're trying to pursue every day, is not only individually, what myself is like, how good can I be? What is my maximum ability? Like what is my potential when it's realized to its fullest? And I think we're still yet to find out what a complete game looks like for our receiving core. But I think Tanner's the right guy. And when you see he does have time to throw the ball, he can put it on the money. And so this is just another opportunity for us to show what we can do as a receiving core, where Bryson's hitting and Elijah's playing well. I'm playing well. John's playing well. And I think if all 4 of us and whoever else is mixed in and sprinkled in, if we all can play at our top ability, I don't see us being able to be stopped by anyone in the country, because I have that much confidence in myself and in John and Elijah and Bryson and all the rest of our receivers. So we just got to continue to work every day in practice and continue to build confidence, not only in each other, but in the coaching staff and Tanner, and just keep working, because eventually the lid's going to pop off, and then I think we're going to put the country on notice.
Troy?
Your reaction to EJ Smith being lost for the year and what that could potentially mean for the Stanford offense going forward?
Yeah, it's definitely really, really upsetting. I know EJ worked really, really hard this offseason to build his body up. So I feel for him. I know what it feels like to have a season-ending injury, and we've had a lot of those that have come since I've been here in my time. So I know the stress it can take, not only on himself and you personally, but on your family and all the people who have invested in you. And I'm sure his family and he were both really, really excited for how the season was going for him personally through the first 2 games. So to have those news hit is probably really, really devastating for him and his family. So I feel for him so much. And for the team, I mean, obviously EJ is a special player. And I think if he were able to stay healthy through the 12 games, I think we would have seen he's probably a top 3 running back in the Pac-12, if not the best one. But Casey's good too. And the thing about Casey's still getting back into like football, because he was out with pretty much the whole offseason with an injury. And so he missed a lot of training. So he's still kind of getting his feet wet and stuff. And I think Casey is very, very talented too. And I think we're going to see him kind of just, grow into something that's really, really special because he has the right mentality. He's got all the athletic ability to do it. And so I think Casey's going to take off.
Ben?
With EJ being out, is there any more of an emphasis for you guys? Is there any full, I guess, more, you guys feeling more kind of responsibilities, receivers to kind of help pick up the slack to help the running game out even more? You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense.
I would say it's not really. I mean, we're just going to continue to do what we do. I don't really see it like that. I just think internally when I look at it, I just feel so bad for EJ, but I don't think it's going to change the way the receivers play, or we got to be like, man, we got to take more responsibility because we have just as much confidence in Casey as we do EJ. And so we're very, very confident that Casey's going to be able to pick up right where EJ left off and continue the trend of having an elite Stanford running back. So I wouldn't say I feel more of a responsibility that we got to get the passing game going because EJ's out.
Any other questions? Ben?
My last one, just in general, thoughts on an 8 p.m. kickoff time. You're used to playing late, obviously, but does your preparation change at all mentally when it's a late game? And just your thoughts on playing a kickoff that's about as late of a window as you're going to play all year.
Yeah, we were talking about this a lot. I would say for me personally, because like you got to think throughout the offseason, our bodies are normally trained to play like early in the morning because from January we have workouts at 6:30, then we have lift, I'd say around like 2:30, 3 o'clock. So I feel like our body, and then practice is at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So I feel like our bodies are trained to work out early in the morning or kind of in the afternoon. Same thing with training camp. Training camp practice, we're like at 2:30, 3 o'clock. So I prefer to play around those times. Like I'm a morning person, so I like to wake up, work out at like 6 o'clock, get everything done early, and then have the night to chill. But yeah, the late games, I wouldn't say it changes much. It just gives you just kind of sitting around the whole day. And so I know for like me, Elijah, and Bryson, we would go to, before our last game, we went to like the hotel weight room and we're just throwing balls and kind of just warming up our eyes for like 45 minutes to an hour, just to kind of, so we're just not sitting around the whole day. Or we went for a walk with all the receivers just to get some sunlight. So that's the thing that I don't like about playing late is it's just so much time that you have to kill throughout the day and just kind of waiting around, sitting, you're anxious. If you're watching other teams play, it's like, all right, man, you just want to play so bad. So I'd say that's the worst part. It's just, you're just wasting so much time throughout the day. It's like, man, I just want to play.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Michael.
That's it. Good. All right, cool. Thank you, guys.
All right, we are now with fifth year safety Kendall Williamson, and we will take questions. Kevin?
Hey, Kendall, I was just looking through your bio and I was reminded that your collegiate debut came against Oregon. I was just curious what you remember from that game and kind of what were your thoughts going into your first collegiate game?
Man, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I remember I got tossed around in that game, if I'm gonna be honest with you. It was like, I think I was on punt return. And I was a corner and the gunner literally just like tossed me. It was my wake-up call to college football. But I mean, I do remember us coming back and winning. That was ridiculous. It was a ridiculous win, ridiculous to be a part of that. In post-game, we were just so excited. And shutting up those Oregon fans, making the stadium go silent was a beautiful thing.
Troy?
Yeah, Kendall, how would you summarize how things have gone for the secondary so far this season?
I feel like we had a strong start in the first game. Obviously, the first game wasn't the same as the next two games. As far as who we faced, and the talent level of the team overall, the talent level of the quarterbacks and the receivers is very different. I feel like we aren't where we want to be right now. If I'm just being honest, each of us as individuals and a collective would love to be playing better as a whole. And just going out there and kind of just playing how we know we can play. So I don't feel like we played poorly. I feel like we've been in some tough situations that we've had to try and fight out of and have come out not winning those situations all the time. But as a defensive back and just as a unit, like that's bound to happen. We play great athletes every single week, especially the last two teams we played. They were both top 25 teams, both very efficient quarterbacks, great play calling and everything like that. So my props are to them. I have a lot of respect for them, but also as a unit, I feel like we definitely feel like we can step it up.
Dave?
Yeah, along those lines, Kendall, you guys have played some pretty elite quarterbacks to this point of the season. And I'm wondering if that in any way, if you feel like maybe set you guys up better to deal with Bo Nix this weekend. And to that end, how is he different or similar to what you guys have faced so far?
I feel like it definitely can prepare you. I feel like I got a similar question after the USC game, because obviously they had Kendall Williams, a lot of good receiving threats as well. And so I definitely feel like it does prepare you going against talent like that early, because if I'm being honest, we probably won't see quarterbacks as good as those two for the remainder of the season, or if they are at that level, like it would be very difficult, because we did like Penix and Kendall Williams were both very good quarterbacks. So I feel like it does set us up pretty well to play other people who are talented. And then as far as Bo Nix, how is he similar? I feel like he's got a solid arm. Like just like the other quarterbacks that we played, they both had cannons for arms, some athletic ability too. So I feel like he's similar in ways to the other quarterbacks that we faced. They all have I feel like there's strengths in comparison to others, the other ones, but yeah.
Ben?
Yeah, just talk about how Troy kind of asked about the secondary unit as a whole, but it seems like one area you guys need to kind of improve on is just coverage. You guys seem to be tackling pretty well out there, but just what needs to happen for the coverage aspect of your defense to be better? Because that seems to be kind of a weak spot for you guys right now.
That's a good question. I feel like one is just eye control. That's something that I feel like we have struggled with at times as a secondary. So just making sure we're on our guys, locked into our guys and everything like that. And it's not just for the secondary as well. It's also for the linebackers in the secondary, because as far as coverage goes, there's a lot of teams will, especially like Washington, they tried to put us in a lot of mismatch situations, like put linebackers on wide receivers, line up wide receivers in the backfield, free release them on running backs, tight splits, pick routes, everything like that. But yeah, I feel like just locking into our eye control, locking into our responsibilities, knowing what could potentially happen is all things that can help us cover better in the upcoming weeks.
John?
You played at a lot of different stadiums. One this past week, and obviously at Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon, on the louder side. There's a lot of ancillary stuff going on, right? They play shout at the end of the third quarter. Their players are waving towels and whatnot. There's a lot of energy. What's sort of your approach and the team's approach to dealing with the pro energy, the high level energy that is focused on the opposing team? Is the goal to shut them up? Do you guys get hyped too? Just kind of like, yeah, we've got the energy too. How do you handle all that?
I feel like it's a mixture of both. As far as like the noise, we have like these speakers at practice that we play pretty loud, so it's a lot harder for us to communicate during practice to kind of like mimic how it would be in a game. So we're having to scream at the top of our lungs during practice just to like communicate plays and make calls and everything like that. As far as the energy, I feel like it's a little bit of a mixture of both. My goal and I feel like our team's goal anytime we go into an opposing stadium is to shut them all up and make them quiet. But we also want to bring the energy too. But I feel like we're not gonna try and match them or just kind of go based off of them. I feel like we want to kind of create our own energy and create our own momentum, and not really like trying to feed into too much of the charades that go into playing some of these high profile teams in big loud stadiums.
Ben?
Yeah, just your thought. I asked Michael the same question. Just your thoughts on the 8 p.m. kickoff. It's about as late. It's about as late of a win as you're going to get all year. Just how do you kind of mentally prepare for a kickoff that's that late at night?
I feel like as far as game day, I feel like there's a lot that you can potentially do. I feel like it's definitely unique to who you are as a person. I like going outside and being outside and kind of getting some fresh air. So I did that when we were in Seattle. And then honestly had a lot more time to look over like my notes and go over things again and just kind of like the game plan. So 8 p.m. is pretty late, but I don't really mind the difference other than like how late we get back. But I definitely feel like I get a little bit more time to get mentally prepared, locked into kind of whatever mode I need to be in for that game. But like I said, I feel like it's really unique person to person. Some people don't like waiting all day. I honestly don't mind. But yeah.
Troy?
Yeah, first day of classes was on Monday. You know, you're an old pro at this, an old veteran by now. Well, what changes with the schedule? What changes with how you guys have to approach your days now that class is back in session?
So it definitely starts with, our meeting time changes, practice time change. We were getting out of practice probably about an hour or so earlier when class wasn't in session. So just being really good with managing your time. I like to plan out my schedule for honestly the entire quarter, usually towards the start with all the meetings, practices, class sections, and all that type of stuff so that I know where I need to be at pretty much every single point of the day. And then also so I can block off my free time to figure out when I'm going to do homework, when I'm going to watch film, when I'm going to do all these other sorts of things that I need to do during the day. So I feel like it's definitely a little bit more hectic, especially during the first weeks when people are still shopping for classes, seeing what they want to do, seeing what they're interested in. But for a couple of weeks, it definitely starts to calm down a little bit.
Any more questions? John?
Hey, Ken, I'm curious, some of these teams that you play, down the road, it'll be a quarterback you've seen before, DTR, for example, Chance Snow at Oregon State. And as you touched on earlier in this conversation, a lot of these quarterbacks are new. Is it more challenging when it's a new quarterback for you, like a Bo Nix, or is it honestly just the same because maybe there's a different scheme year to year or whatnot?
I wouldn't say necessarily that it's more challenging. I feel like once you play quarterbacks multiple times, you kind of get a little bit of a feel for how they play within the system. But like you mentioned, like systems change, plays change, the players that they play with change. So ultimately, kind of like how the offense operates as a whole may change. Definitely as a safety, I feel like it is important to know your quarterback or who you're playing because I feel like in a way, sometimes it's like almost like a battle between the safety and the quarterback in terms of like just playing on the field and everything like that. But I feel like it can present a challenge playing a new quarterback, but at the end of the day, every single week is different. The schemes may be different year to year. The plays may be different. The players may be different. So I feel like it's always like a relearning process, no matter who you play or how long you play them.
Any other questions? Thank you, Kendall.
That is all for today's press conference. Thank you so much for attending.